Welcome back to our journey in ethics. This is your Professor Joe. In this session, we delve into one of the most crucial capacities of the moral life, the ability to reason ethically. It's one thing to feel, believe, or follow, but it's another to reflect critically and responsibly on what is right, what is just, and what is worth doing. That is the heart of moral reasoning, the skill of making sound moral judgments amidst the complexity of life. Let me start with 4 subjective foundations for moral rules. There are 4 commonly used but flawed bases for deciding what's right, such as authority, majority opinion, legality, and pragmatism. First, authority. We often look to experts, parents, teachers, religious leaders, or government officials for moral direction. They can offer guidance based on experience and knowledge. However, blindly following authority can be dangerous. Think of Dr. Mercer, the admired professor who told students not to waste time on terminal patients. His authority intimidated them. But one student, Anna, dared to ask, "Is this good, just, and true?" Authority can guide us, but it must never replace conscience. Ethical maturity means going beyond "who said it" to asking "is it right?" Second, consensus gentium, popular opinion. Just because many believe something doesn't make it morally true. History is filled with majority-endorsed wrongs: slavery, colonialism, racial discrimination. Ethics is not a popularity contest. The story of Amir, the boy shunned for a birthmark, reminds us what's widely believed is not always right. Truth must be based on reason, not numbers. Third, legality. What's legal isn't always moral. Laws can uphold injustice. Clara Dawson, the teacher who broke segregation laws to educate all children equally, reminds us that legality can never be the final judge. The law may tell us what is permitted, but conscience tells us what is right. And history celebrates those who resisted unjust laws in the name of human dignity. Fourth, pragmatism. Pragmatism asks, does it work? Dr. Elisa saved lives by bending rules, but does that justify her actions? Pragmatism values outcomes, but results alone don't define morality. Ethics must consider both consequences and principles. What works may help, but only what is just endures. Let me also discuss 3 factors that shape our moral behavior and reasoning. Now, where do our moral ideas come from? What shapes our sense of right and wrong? First, social life and upbringing. We learn morality from those around us: family, friends, community. Children mimic what they see. Teenagers seek peer approval. Our environment teaches us behaviors and values. But to mature ethically, we must eventually reflect, question, and sometimes transcend those early influences. Second, education. Education doesn't just build intellect, it shapes character. Through reward and punishment, role modeling, and evocative reflection, schools instill values. But real moral growth means going beyond obedience, learning to reason, to empathize, and to choose the good even when it's hard. Third, religiosity. For many, religion is a moral compass. It gives clear rules and deeper reasons rooted in divine purpose and spiritual accountability. Religion teaches that we are answerable not just to human laws, but to higher moral truth. Whether in childhood obedience or adult conviction, religious values help shape our ethical framework. Please examine your sources of moral knowledge. How do you know what is right? Let me share these several sources. First, intuition gives us a gut sense. Second, feelings connect us emotionally to moral situations. Third, experience teaches us through life, but only reason ties it all together. Among this, reason is the most reliable. It lets us argue, justify, and clarify our beliefs. Reason allows us to question bias, test principles, and communicate across cultures. Ethics begins in the heart, but it must pass through the mind. how would we understand the levels of moral thinking? We grow in our moral thinking through 3 levels. The base level is experience, meaning on what we feel we experience around us, and the feeling involved as we encounter those events, like anger, sadness, joy. The second level is interpretation of our experience, meaning we make sense of our experience or assign meaning to the event around us, saying, "That was wrong thing. Why did he do that?" The third level is analysis, meaning we ask something about what we interpret, like why is it wrong? Why lying is wrong? Every answer we have speaks of how morally mature we have. It could also speak of our moral development, so we can tell the moral sense of the person. If he says stealing is okay, then we can tell the moral stance and moral development of the person. So, from these moral views, we need to shift from reflection to action using the ethical analysis of a philosopher, Sheila Mullett. Ethics is not just about thinking, it's about responding. Philosopher Sheila Mullett offers a powerful 3-stage process. First, with moral sensitivity, we respond by noticing suffering and injustice. Second, with ontological shock, we respond by feeling shaken to your core of your being or by adjusting to the reality that one day it may be you or your family can be the next victim. Third, with praxis, we respond to taking informed, courageous action to bring about justice. To live ethically is not merely to feel or to think, but to act wisely and compassionately. As part of this study of moral reasoning, we need to expand the role of feelings in moral deliberation, according to Max Scheler. Scheler challenges us to respect the role of feelings in moral life. Emotions aren't distractions. They reveal values. Anger shows our love of justice. Grief shows our value for life. Scheler teaches us that emotions guide us toward the moral truth, but reason must clarify and elevate them. Ethics, he says, is about responding to the highest values, not just what feels good, but what is deeply meaningful. The determinant for good and evil could be the movement of values, whether it is going up or going down. The movement up implies that your values are in right direction, which is towards the good. While if the movement goes down, it means that your values are going to the evil side. Why we all study all this in moral reasoning? The answer is because we want to avoid moral tragedy. So, we must recognize the danger of moral tragedy when we fail to do what's right and later regret it. These failures often come from lack of reflection, group pressure, or blind obedience, but they are not inevitable. We can avoid them by cultivating awareness, studying principles, asking critical questions, learning from experience, seeking moral dialogue. When we fail to act rightly, we may feel the deep pain of regret. But when we reason well, we choose actions we can live with, not just today, but for the rest of our lives. So, what does it mean to understand moral reasoning? It means moving from passive acceptance to active reflection, from doing what others say to doing what is right, from blind obedience to courageous ethical action. We are not just shaped by the world, we shape it by the moral choices we make. Let us become not just rule followers, but moral thinkers. Not just law abiders, but justice seekers. Not just passive citizens, but ethical leaders. Because the world doesn't just need more knowledge, it needs more wisdom. And that wisdom begins when we ask not just what should I do, but what is right, just, and truly human. Let me invite you again to our next episode on relativism, particularly about ethical relativism. Thank you.